Kirby Planet Robobot has this really cool feature where if you scan a first-party Nintendo amiibo, Kirby will receive a copy ability based on the character scanned. This feature was only compatible with the amiibo released before Planet Robobot, and was limited to the copy abilities included among the game's selection. But what if we broadened our scope? Let's pick out a corresponding copy ability for every Super Smash Bros. Character, with the entire base copy ability lineup at our disposal. This is every Super Smash Bros. Character's Kirby copy ability, according to me, and only me. Kicking things off, it should be no surprise that I think Mario would give the Fire ability. Sure, Mario has loads of power-ups and abilities in his arsenal, but none more iconic than his fire power. Other characters that would grant fire are Roy, Charizard, and Pyro, all for very obvious reasons. I know there are plenty of other Smash fighters that wield fire, but I really wanted to include as many different abilities in this video as possible. Case in point, scanning the Donkey Kong amiibo in Planet Robobot gives Kirby the Fighter ability, which is totally fitting of a big punching gorilla. But there are a lot of Smash characters that are very traditional fighters. That and the much bigger roster of abilities to choose from leans me towards giving Donkey Kong a different ability, namely Suplex. In the Smash series, Donkey Kong is defined by his cargo throw, and even in his home games, he's known for throwing barrels and grabbing ladies. There's gotta be a less weird way to phrase that. I'd also assign this ability to Wario, who originally was represented by Wheel thanks to his motorcycle. You could also argue that Poison would fit since he's pretty nasty, but the Wario Land games are all about picking up nerds and just freaking launching them, making Suplex an easy pick for these two. Next up is Link, and as fitting as Bomb, or Cutter, or Archer would be for him, Link has to be Sword. If anyone was going to be Sword, it should be the guy that Kirby modeled his own drip off of, right? Given the abundance of Sword fighters in Smash, you would think that Sword is the most represented ability in this video. And yeah, you're totally right. But I tried to limit this to the characters that can only really be defined by their blade. Marth, Ike, Mii Sword Fighter, Lucina, Cloud, Braum, and of course, Kirby's pal Meta Knight make up the other sorties, which is a surprisingly restrained batch compared to what it could be. Samus is another character with a wide array of weapons and skills, but I think Bomb is the best fit. Beam was also up for consideration, but since Kirby's beam ability leans more towards magic, Bomb suits the missile shooting, explosive dropping bounty hunter much better. Snake is another clear Bomb rep, as is Bowser Jr. Not only is his clown car stocked full of explosive ammunition, but it also just is explosive ammunition. Yoshi is a bit of an oddball because his skills align so closely with Kirby's already, but I think Planet Robobot was smart in giving him Whip to reference his long prehensile tongue. Gross. Other whip aficionados include Zero Suit Samus for her Plasma Whip, and Simon. Duh. Box would give the Laser ability, along with Rob and Mii Gunner. It might be a pretty underwhelming copy ability now, but if it was brought back in a modern Kirby game, it would certainly be one worthy of repping the leader of Star Fox. Pikachu would obviously give the Spark ability, and as much as I would prefer to try and differentiate similar characters, Pichu would give Spark as well. Though, slightly less obviously, Robin would also give Spark, due to their proficiency in lightning magic and signature Levin Sword. Now, Luigi had a bunch of potential abilities to choose from, quite possibly the most of any character. Ultimately, I settled on one that's been a core part of his character since his earliest playable appearances: High Jump. He jumps high after all. ESP is a copy ability that was inspired by Ness, so to assign him any other copy ability would just be foolish. And it fits the other psychics: Mewtwo, Lucas, and the visionary Shulk. I was torn between Wheel and Jet for Captain Falcon, since they both match F-Zero's intense high-speed action. But ultimately, I decided on Jet because I don't think the F-Zero vehicles actually have wheels. Speaking of Jet though, Falco also finds himself with this ability, since compared to his buddy Fox, he personally prefers the air. Jigglypuff is last up for the original 12, and while it would be funny for it to give the sleep ability, Planet Robobot had the right idea with assigning Mike to Jigglypuff. Moving to the melee fighters, minus the ones I've already mentioned, Peach would give Parasol. No explanation needed. Bowser is an interesting one, because the first ability that should come to mind is Fire. Well, Planet Robobot defied that, because scanning Bowser gives... Stone? I guess someone had to be the one to give Kirby Stone, and Bowser's hard shell and earth-shaking dump truck was enough to justify the connection. Personally, I'd go with a different ability that plays off his spiky shell. Needle Kirby. Mario already called dibs on Fire, so I think this is a suitable replacement. There's an argument to be made that the Ice Climbers should give the Hammer ability since they wield hammers. But I mean, Ice is literally in the name. When Ice and Freeze were two separate copy abilities, Kirby even matched the duo. The Stealthy Sheik is the perfect character to give Ninja, as is Greninja. Again, it's in the name. Zelda was one of the characters I really struggled with, since Magic Kirby is more based on a stage magician, and like Kirby... Enough said. Planet Robobot gave her Mirror, which works as a nod to Nehru's love in Smash, but otherwise I think it's kind of a weak connection. In the end, I decided on Beam. It's the Kirby series' best approximation to a traditional arcane ability, and it's the closest ability to Zelda's Divine Light magic, at least the closest respectable ability. And that connection to light is why I think Mithra should also give this ability. Dr. Mario. Take a wild guess. Although, he's not the only one who would give Doctor. Wii Fit Trainer isn't a licensed medical professional, but to be fair, I don't think Mario is either. Their physical fitness focuses much more towards health than combat, so Doctor is still a decent enough fit. Young Link is the next character we haven't covered yet, and having 3 different Links in Smash gives us a great opportunity to represent more of their arsenal. In Young Link's case, I'd go with Archer. Bows are the most prominent recurring weapon in Zelda besides the traditional sword and shield. Plus, one of the main differentiating attacks between Link and Young Link in Smash are Young Link's fire arrows. I would also have Byleth give the Archer ability to differentiate them from the other Fire Emblem characters, since they can wield a bow in 3 houses, and also Golden Deer are the best house. Don't bother arguing in the comments, I already know I'm right. Ganondorf unfortunately doesn't really have a fitting copy ability to pair with. Believe it or not, Kirby's too pure of heart to have an evil copy ability. I was originally just going to give him Sand, because the Gerudo are a desert tribe and there wasn't anyone else to assign this ability to. But that's still not a great fit. So instead, I'll just copy Planet Robobot's homework and leave him with Poison. The big skull and crown coloration suit the King of Evil pretty well, and Poison is the closest we can get to Ganon's gloom and malice. Piranha Plant also finds itself with poison. I bet you expected Leaf, but I much more associate this species with poison, especially the kind of toxic gas and icky paint-like goop that Poison Kirby produces. Mr. Game & Watch is the last of the Melee bunch, and we have a few options. Planet Robobot gave him Circus as a nod to the first Game & Watch title. Cook would also represent one of the most iconic titles, but there is an ability that best represents the entire Game & Watch library. For you see, these systems weren't just games, they were also watches. Alarm clocks to be specific, which means, begrudgingly, Belle Kirby is the best fit. And you want to know the worst part? This is the best ability for Isabelle too. She is a Belle after all. We've already covered the first Brawl Boy Meta Knight, so we're kicking this cast off with Pit. And before there was Archer Kirby, there was Cupid Kirby. Easy pick. Skipping all the way to Pokemon Trainer, these should be obvious. We already assigned Fire to Charizard, so Squirtle would naturally be Water, along with the Dragon Blood Corin. And Ivysaur would be Leaf, as would Olimar, Villager, and Daisy. Though I do wish there was a more flowery ability for Olimar and Daisy. In Planet Robobot, Diddy Kong gave the Bomb ability when scanned as a nod to his rocket barrel and pop guns. But I always thought Circus would have been more fitting. Diddy Kong is an acrobatic little freak, and we've even seen him juggle before. Sonic is an easy pick. Wheel. It's Kirby's own take on the spin dash. And then of course, it's our old pal King Dedede, acting as our sole hammer rep. Nobody out-hammers the king. Of the copy abilities included in this video, it should go without saying that Sword was the most common. but Fighter was the second most, and that's shocking because it took this long to reach a character that embodies this ability. I'm of course referring to the Aura Pokemon Lucario, along with Little Mac, Mii Brawler, and our fighting game girlies Ryu, Ken, Terry, and Kazuya Mishima. Toon Link gives us another opportunity to represent Link, but this time I want to focus on Toon Link himself. The Toon moniker does refer to several different incarnations of our hero, but easily the most iconic is the Hero of Winds from Wind Waker, and we just so happen to have a wind-based ability in Tornado. Wolf is the final Brawl Boy, and his sharp claws and ruthless fighting style match the deceptively vicious Animal Kirby. Don't let the costume fool you. Those are the eyes of an apex predator. That brings us to the 3DS and Wii U newcomers, and while we've covered a few of them, there's still plenty of new abilities to go through. For example, Mega Man. In the past, I would have had a difficult time choosing between Beam, Spark, or Laser for the Super Fighting Robot, but now we have the perfect Super Fighting Robot ability thanks to Mecha. It really was meant to be. You could also make the argument that Copy would be perfect for Mega Man, but like, it's Copy. Rosalina and Luma, travelers from the stars. There's really only one ability that fits the interstellar pair, and that's UFO. If it wasn't a 100% completion bonus in Planet Robobot, I have no doubt Rosalina would have given it then. Moving from the celestial to the heavenly, Palutena would give Mirror. She wields a shield, reflective magic, the Mirror Shield is one of the 3 sacred treasures, and the Kid Icarus series' Japanese name is Light Myth Palutena's Mirror. For a more abstract connection, I'd also give Mirror to Sora, since the core series themes of Kingdom Hearts deal with the light and darkness in one's heart, and Sora has his own mirror in his Nobody Roxas. Pac-Man was another tricky character to decide. Like Yoshi, Pac-Man has a lot of overlap with Kirby's base abilities, even more so thanks to how spherical he is. But then I realized, that roundness is the answer. We've seen Pac-Man transform between his anthropomorphic design and his classic arcade look, which is almost exactly how Ball Kirby functions. Dark Pit could very easily give Cupid just like his counterpart, but he wields his own signature weapon, the Dark Pit Staff. Granted, it's more of a ranged weapon, but the name alone is enough to have Dark Pit give the staff ability. Duck Hunt rounds out the pre-DLC Smash 4 roster, and there's no better ability to represent the NES classic than Ranger Kirby. And I'm also assigning this ability to King K. Rool, who was one of the toughest characters to decide a single copy ability for, since his moveset is so varied. There's Cutter for the Crown Boomerang, Jet for his Propeller Pack, Fighting for his Boxing Glove, Laser or Bomb for the Blastomatic. I almost decided on giving him Metal to reference his weight and armor, but I'll be damned if I'm sticking a man I have the utmost respect for with the worst copy ability in the series. In the end, it was his big, stupid blunderbuss that won out. Speaking of difficult decisions, what the hell would I give to Bayonetta? Could there be a more different series from Kirby than Bayonetta? Yeah, actually, they share a surprising amount of similarities. Ranger's gunplay doesn't really match Bayonetta's fast-paced action, and there are no abilities that affect time in their base form. I seriously considered Spider as a reference to Phantasmarene, but that seemed like way too specific of a reference to base Bayonetta's ability around. So I pondered, what else does Bayonetta do? She dances. Festival Kirby. It's honestly shameful it even took me that long. Bayonetta marks the last of Smash 4's cast, bringing us to the most recent Smash game at the time of this video, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Inkling would give the Artist ability, quite possibly the most obvious combination in this video. As for Ridley, my first thought was Wing. He obviously has wings and is known for his aerial combat, but pairing up such a malicious villain with a bright, colorful ability just feels wrong. Instead, I'm going with Spear, since Ridley primarily attacks with his long, spear-like tail. Richter could have just as easily given Whip like Simon since they both use the exact same weapon, but I decided to assign Cutter to him to reference all the sub-weapons found in Castlevania, and as a means to differentiate the two. Kinda weird it took Cutter this long to show up in the video. Dark Samus is a being made from Phazon, a radioactive energy-producing substance. Plasma is Kirby's closest approximation, and it certainly fits the sci-fi horror vibe of Dark Samus. You might have been confused when I brought up Suplex earlier and Incineroar wasn't named. It's the wrestler cat after all. Why wouldn't it give Suplex? Well, Incineroar isn't a brawler like Donkey Kong or Wario. It's a professional. It deserves a copy ability that matches that professional status. Ladies and gentlemen, standing at 8 inches high, give it up for Wrestler Kirby! Of all the characters, the hardest one for me to pick an ability for was Joker. He has the perfect balance of attributes that are similar to copy abilities, but not quite exact. Joker is a thief, not a ninja. He wields a knife, not a sword, and his gun is much more realistic than Ranger Kirby's. I can't come this far just to admit defeat though, so I settled on Ghost for Joker. Joker is a phantom thief, and controlling enemies to attack is the closest the Kirby series gets to summoning personas. At first, I was just gonna give Hero Sword and call it a day, but then I thought it would be way funnier to give them Magic as a nod to the command menu. Sure, the moveset outside the roulette doesn't fit Hero at all, but this is the only ability that can replicate the high you get when you whack an opponent. Banjo and Kazooie would give the Wing ability. Very self-explanatory. Although, if we were to separate the pair, Banjo would totally give Animal. And then we have Min Min, who I think would give the Yo-Yo ability. It's long-ranged, attacks in an arc like her Ram Ram, it even gives Kirby some kicking attacks. And like, if you give me the opportunity to assign my favorite copy ability to one of my favorite characters, I'm gonna take it. We're down to the second to last character, and surprisingly, Stone Kirby still doesn't have an assigned character. This is Kirby's most iconic copy ability in Smash Bros, and yet it took until Steve to find the right guy for the job. Look, Kirby's even a cube. Sometimes. And last but certainly not least, if we're not gonna go for the obvious sword for Sephiroth, there's only one ability to match his awesome destructive spells like Giga Flare, Meteor, and Supernova. You should always end your videos with a bang, but I suppose a crash works just as well. And there you have it, every Smash Bros. Character's copy ability. Yup, I definitely didn't leave anyone out. Oh yeah, Kirby would give the Smash Bros. Ability. Are there any that you would change? Any that you think work especially well? Or any other series you would like me to cover? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like, subscribe, and most importantly, thanks for watching.